Hi, and welcome to Leaders Serving Beaver County podcast. I'm Mark Miner, publisher of the book Forged in Steel, and I'm here with Dr. Jim Dittmar, retired chair of the Masters of Organizational Leadership program at Geneva College and president of the Three Rivers Leadership Institute. Welcome, Jim.
Thank you very much, Mark. Glad to be here.
Jim, at our Leaders Serving Beaver County workshop this morning, you taught chapter 6 of the book, which looks at the time-tested leadership principles practiced by the Pittsburgh Steelers, and you analyzed the concept of continuous improvement through deliberate practice.
Yes. And it's a chapter in which the focus is on not just the development, the end product, what is it we're trying to get better at, but the process of getting there. And so we talked a lot about process this morning. What is the nature of the process? What does it produce? Why is it so important? Along with some other points that we'll be talking about here.
And why is the process of continuous improvement so important?
Well, I think it speaks to the idea that continuous improvement as a leader, as a person, or in any application of that idea, is something that takes time. It's something that takes commitment. Mm-hmm. It's something that takes hard work. Mm-hmm. It is something that the process, by its very nature, produces. In other words, it's more than just the outcome of what have I gotten better about as a leader, but it's also that the process, the going through that, the difficulties, the bumps in the road, the hard work of it, because change is hard, change is difficult. Continuous improvement is about change. But anyhow, the process itself it creates capacity in us to endure, to have the courage, to have the persistence and the stick-to-itiveness. And along with that, then the specific changes that we're trying to accomplish. So it implies time, it implies intentionality. Process means change.
So the book's co-authors, Tunch Ilkin of the Steelers and
Yes.
Damian Williams of Leadership League, talk a lot about change, improvement. What kind of change can this process produce? I mean, what can a leader truly expect as an outcome?
Yeah, I think, again, what we're talking about here is a fundamental change in the mindset of the leader, of the person. It's not just about acquiring a whole set of competencies. It's not, oh, I can now do this, I can now do that, I can now do this, I can now do that. It's much more than that. Competencies are important, of course, but it's when you talk about changing the mindset of the leader, what you're implying is I'm looking at this whole business of what leadership is in a different way. That's the change dimension of it. What your mindset is about leadership is certainly going to influence how you lead. And so we want to focus on the mindset and how the change that we talk about in continuous improvement is about that process of changing the way we view leadership, changing our perspective, changing our attitude, which then can lead to change in behavior.
So you spoke this morning, you used the example of a student of yours who came into your program and said, this is so foreign to me, it's just not me. And by the end of your own teachings on leadership, you said that the desired changes had now become their default.
Yes. Yeah, and again, this process is 3 or 4 steps, if you will, infused with a ton of reflection. And so what happens is, as we're trying to create capacity in our mind, a larger vessel, if you will, to understand leadership, not just by jamming competencies in the vessel, but by enlarging our understanding. Mm-hmm. We do that through this process of first recognizing, man, this is something different. This is not how I understand leadership, or whatever it might be. Mm-hmm. And so it challenges the very assumptions that you have been living and working by in terms of your behavior and your perspective and attitude towards leadership. Once that process starts and you start saying, just like the student I referenced said, you know what, this is very different than how I understand leadership.
Sure.
But there was a willingness there to not just do the process of analyzing my assumptions, but actually practicing new behaviors that weren't part of her default.
Right.
These were practices that came out of these new assumptions. In other words, if you assume this, then this is how you behave. Okay, I'm not ready to assume this just yet, but I'm going to try. I'm going to practice. And gradually with that practice and some of the other things that we'll talk about here, she became, this person got to a point where these ideas, these things became internalized, so that now that's how I react. That's who I am.
Yeah.
I am not that same person that I was. I've changed.
So how does a leader, and how can they enhance the process? How can they make it even better for you?
Yeah, well, I think there's several things that can happen there. One is a plan. This has got to be intentional. Yeah. This can't just be willy-nilly. It has to recognize that this is challenging, that it's complex, that it's complicated. We are complicated beings. It's not a linear 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 step thing. It's a reiteration. It's a cycle. It's a back and forth kind of process that's going to occur. It's something that you have to make the commitment to the long haul to. I am committed to this process of continuous improvement over time. It's not an event. It's something that occurs over time. I can enhance it by bringing on the feedback, and again, by practicing and getting feedback. What do you think? Tell me how I'm doing. Talking to people, reflecting on what's going on in your mind, and how people are reacting to you, and because that's where you want to go. You want to get to a point where the experiences you are having in your head and as you behave each day are so strong and are so significant that you begin to make changes that are permanent.
So Tunch talks about the eye in the sky as the Steelers' way of receiving feedback on performance. Talk about that.
Yes, not Chuck Noll, but Bill Cowher said the eye in the sky does not lie.
Does not lie.
He's referring to the videotaping of games, practices, all kinds of stuff that when reviewed show, boy, you did a great job in that play. Or, you're pretty bad. You need to work on some stuff.
Yeah.
But eye in the sky with respect to continuous improvement as a leader is about the feedback process. It's about finding a way to get feedback. Some people, a common practice is the 360 feedback, where you, on paper, try to get people to respond to certain items and issues about how you're doing. And you get it from everyone, and you compare it to what you think in terms of how you're doing. And where there's discrepancies, then okay, I'm getting feedback. You have to be able to separate yourself from the emotion of getting critique and the value of honest, objective, helpful critique that may be pointing out some things that you need to get after. It's having that group of people. It's having that person who you feel confident can give you good feedback, and you have assured that person that this is risk-free.
Yeah.
I am not going to go nuts. I'm not going to go crazy. Your job will not be in jeopardy. I'm going to listen. I'm going to take my time. I'm going to ask questions. I'm not going to react. And so I have to have a certain confidence in myself, a certain sense that it's okay for me to be vulnerable.
And trust in the other.
And trust in the other.
Yes. So one of the final points that you talked about today was the importance of huddles.
Yes.
And so Damian and Tunch write a good bit about the importance of surrounding yourself with really good people who can be completely honest with you.
Yes. Yeah, it's a good metaphor. Okay, here's a play. Let's go break. And so in that sense, you are huddling with those couple of folks, those 3 or 4 feedback coaches, if you will, that you feel comfortable with, that that not only have you created a risk-free environment, but so have they for you. They're not going to bust your chops, in such a way that it's embarrassing or that it's demoralizing or this or that. It's going to be honest but positive, uplifting. That's the ideal kind of feedback. And as one of our participants this morning pointed out, that it's as immediate as possible. In other words, you're getting regular, quick feedback, not on something that happened 2 months ago.
Right.
but that there's a regular process of, hey, I want to meet 2 or 3 times a week for a while, just at lunch, let's just talk. And then maybe, that tapers off after a while, but boy, you're getting some real, how's it going kind of stuff.
And imagine how that can really enhance one's career.
Oh, absolutely.
Performance.
Absolutely. Again, the old model, if you will, or the current old model of just focusing on competencies. I now know how to do this. I now knew how to do that. Yes, I can do that. Yeah, you've checked off all the competencies, you've gone through all the training, but without an expansion of what is the real nature of leadership itself, and who am I as a leader? What do I have to know about myself and others, and all these important, really deep fundamental things. If I believe that the leadership is about power and authority, and one way, it's my way, you have a set of assumptions that says that's the right way to lead.
Yeah.
And when we are confronted by the stuff that's forged in steel, we're, oh my goodness, I don't think about leadership that way.
Yes.
Why? And that begins that process. I want people to begin that reflective process of saying, why do I think leadership is about power and authority and top down? What are they telling me here? I need to start thinking, oh man, that's bugging me. That ride home is getting really tough because I keep thinking about this, And so that's that reflective process, again, which begins the challenge of assumptions.
Yes.
And then if you are committed, practicing new behaviors, getting feedback, keep doing it, keep working. Bam, all of a sudden you find yourself, that's who I am now. That's my default.
Fabulous stuff, Jim, and thank you again for your
right.
time this morning to be leading
Pleasure.
the conversation.
Pleasure.
Ladies and gentlemen, to learn more about leaders serving Beaver County, visit our website at www.ls-bc.org. If you'd be interested in attending the 7th and final class,
Yes.
which will be taught by Dr. John Stanko, it will be held Thursday, April 20th, 2017, right here at the Lodge at Penn State Beaver campus. The topic will be mental toughness,
Yep.
or otherwise, in Steeler language, playing in pain.
Aha.
And
Dr. John Stanko.
Dr.
is
John
our,
Stanko
facilitator.
will lead that. If you'd be
Yeah.
interested in ordering a book for study, for reading, for sharing with others, Forged in Steel is available at www.forgedinsteel.org. Thank you, and hope to see you at a future class.